We are back, day 2 remote, and the last day of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on remote, because tomorrow we are back in studio. The new computer is being finished setting up, I guess, for lack of a better word. They are finishing setting that up today, and we are back tomorrow. But we got a full show coming at you, starting with the Guardians right now.
Man, that's a long pause on that no music Ultimate Brown situation.
3 seconds. We got Bull, we got Dustin Fox, we got G. Bush in the house, Leroy Horde, and Shaun King joining us today. How you guys doing?
Good.
East up, A-Town down.
Excellent.
Bull, you missed yesterday's remote show. It flew by for Dustin, G, myself, and Tyvis. You got big shoes to fill because Tyvis was on fire yesterday. Just a heads up.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was cooking.
What was he cooking? What was he cooking about?
I mean, he was just bringing it, man. Just bringing that heat.
Was he bringing some controversial opinions?
No.
He was Tyvis.
no, that's not what he does.
Dustin's already getting some criticism in the chat. Is it tennis, Dustin? Well, at least it's not pickleball. Why don't you?
Oh yeah, I'm not a well. Damn, I can't cuss really anymore in the show.
No.
So, yeah, you know what I was gonna say.
People love pickleball though, so I don't think we should make fun of pickleball either.
Can I just have the floor for a moment?
Please.
Go ahead.
I got no problem with pickleball. I've got absolutely no problem with pickleball. I think it's great. I think that it's phenomenal that people are becoming active who are not active. As a tennis community, we just don't like the fact that your pickleball is taking over our tennis courts. That's it. I mean, it's like stay in your lane. Okay. Know your role. Like you're a fun little niche sport that it is great for like people in their 60s. You know, I'm just not going to play it right now. I think it's the easiest sport to play. That's why so many people play it. And that's great. It's just not for me. Not yet.
You sound a little like the boxing people that scoff at MMA, and now MMA has gotten bigger.
It's not that way. I mean, I actually don't mind playing it, but it's just so easy. It doesn't challenge. It's not challenging at all.
All right. Well, if you're 60 or you're fat and out of shape, maybe it is challenging.
Yeah, tennis is so hard. Tennis is like really hard.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, listen, when Dustin is on, the show has to be sponsored by a tennis player. So this show is gonna be sponsored by Boris Becker, Goran Ivanisevic, and Timmy Chang.
Michael Chang. Timmy Chang's the quarterback.
Timmy Chang was the quarterback of Hawaii. Right? So I got to since I screwed that one up, I'll throw Jim Courier in there.
I think Timmy Chang's the head coach at Hawaii now, isn't he?
He is.
Look at that.
He is the head coach.
Full circle.
Right. And I know before we get into things, there are still people saying you're still on restreams or whatever on StreamYard. We'll be back in the studio tomorrow for those who didn't miss it. So we had a computer. Our whole system is based on a computer. The whole thing crapped the bed, and we had to get a new computer system, and it takes a couple days to get it up and going, and it's going to be even better. We'll be back in studio tomorrow. All right, Mike.
2 days. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's 2 days on remote because of a giant computer crash. I think
technically at the end of the 3 because we did it Tuesday.
Fair. So 3. Well,
doesn't matter.
We couldn't get the computer, but we are back tomorrow. We are back to normal scheduled program. If you didn't miss yesterday's show, it was 2 hours. We had both of our guests. We can get them in. We're going to have Leroy and Shaun King today. We'll have a Shaun King film breakdown on social media later today. Shaun picked out 8 plays he wants to break down. So he had a lot of stuff from the protection issues to some good Deshaun throws to some not so good Deshaun throws. We'll get that all in later on social media. But let's get into some guard stuff, Bull, after a quick word from FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll even get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Bull, the Guards clinched a first-round bye yesterday, their 3rd champagne celebration in what I believe is the last.
They did another champagne. They didn't do a champagne celebration last night, did they?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Of course they did.
Yeah, they did. They had shirts that said Cincinnati is Kentucky.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did see that. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I didn't even
Gotta
think
love
about
those shirts though, because that's so true. It's so
That's
true.
Great shirt.
that is funny. I can't believe I've never heard of a champ. I mean, I don't care. I think you celebrate as much as you want. It's great. Shows great team chemistry. But that's weird to celebrate for clinching a bye.
I mean, look, bro. Listen, people say you act like you've been there before. They ain't been there before.
No.
So,
Jose has.
Well, would you rather celebrate clinching a bye or breaking up a pass in the third quarter of a 14-point game when you're down?
There you go.
I've got zero problem with celebrating clinching a bye. I've got a huge problem with celebrating an incomplete pass after you got torched to play before when you're down 21-7.
We talked about that yesterday. But Bull, give us a little bit on the Guardians. Another big win yesterday, 6-1 dub over the Reds, and a couple guys, Manzardo, Lane Thomas, getting hot at the right time.
Well, let me start with a guy you didn't mention. That's Tanner Bybee, who I did want to see pitch the 8th inning, but I'm not surprised he didn't. 88 pitches through 7 innings. He gave up 1 run. He was phenomenal. He looked like an ace yesterday, which is what they need going into the playoffs. He's really their only pitcher. He's the only starting pitcher you completely trust heading into the playoffs. And so I think it was big for him to get this, what might be his last start. I would think they might pitch him on Sunday. Right now, Gavin Williams is scheduled to pitch Sunday. I could see them end up skipping whoever, whether it's Cobb or, well, they'll pitch Cantillo tonight, not Cobb, but whether it's Boyd or Lively, I could see them skipping one of those guys either Friday or Saturday, pushing up Gavin Williams a day, and then having Bybee start on Sunday, because he's going to pitch game 1 of the ALDS, which will be next. Well, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, whatever that is. That's October 5th. So I don't want Tanner Bybee going from September 24th to October 5th without pitching in a game. I think that'd be a big mistake. So if he pitches Sunday, even if you only throw him 3-4 innings, he'll be on normal rest going into the Saturday start in the American League Division Series against whoever they play. So I think you need to do that. So that's where it starts yesterday. He was great. He looked like an ace. He's the one guy you trust to go deep into games in the playoffs. But I tweeted yesterday that Lane Thomas and Kyle Manzardo are 2 big X factors here. What do we know about the Guardians going into the playoffs? We know their bullpen's great, so we expect it to be great. Doesn't mean it will be. You never know. Tanner Bybee, we can trust. We know we can't trust the rest of the rotation, so you have to go into the playoffs knowing that. With the lineup, the top of the lineup, you know Ramirez and Naylor, and even though Quan struggled the second half, if he's back, I'm going to trust him going in. Everybody else is a question mark in the lineup. Lane Thomas and Kyle Manzardo have been excellent here for a few weeks, since Manzardo came back and since Lane Thomas pulled out of that slump. If those 2 guys can stay hot in the playoffs, they're huge X factors. They lengthen the lineup and give the Guardians an area which is a weakness in the lineup and makes them decent in the lineup. And that's a huge difference because they have a major edge over every other team in the bullpen. They have a major edge over almost every other team in base running and in defense. And while they're not,
let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
You got Lane Thomas, you got Manzardo, and you got Noel. Who gets the first crack in the lineup? Like in terms of getting, are they going to play 2 of those guys the whole series, or are they going to platoon one of them?
So Manzardo's going to play only against righties. I'd like to see him play against both, but he's only going to play against righties in the playoffs. And Noel is only going to play against lefties.
And
so
Thomas is going to play.
Thomas is going to play probably every game. He's better against lefties, but he's hot right now and has certainly more of a track record than those guys. So he'll play every day. And then basically you'll have Fry will play against lefties. Noel will play against lefties. And then against righties, you'll have probably Manzardo and Brennan.
G, hold on. We got a little controversy real quick.
Sorry.
No, you're good, but we are being told that the Cincinnati's and Kentucky shirts were photoshopped. Those aren't real shirts from the celebration.
That makes sense. I didn't. That's weird that they had those.
The Guardians tweeted out 4 pictures from their main account.
Right.
Could they just be reposting pictures from a previous celebration?
I have no idea. So the shirts, there were shirts that the Guardians pushed out from their account.
They tweeted here. I'm gonna drop the link for you guys in our chat so you can go to the Guardians official. This is more important than anything. Both saying the Guardians. Did we get duped by a fake Photoshop? I just put it in the chat on the right. Click
Kill your
on the
whole
link.
analysis.
By the way, I think our fans care more about the team than
No.
the stupid
If you look at the
t-shirt.
comments, no, they're not. It is all about the shirts right now. That is what triggered me off to this not being. We may have got duped here.
Yeah.
I'm getting DMs. Oh, okay. The trophy in the back definitely is Photoshop. That part is Photoshop for sure.
So bad job out of you, Mike.
Somebody said Andre Knott said there
that's
was not a
come on, Mike.
celebration.
That's a you're the producer of the show. How do you not know that?
Listen,
That's terrible.
Steve Becker just texted me. No way that's Photoshopped.
Who cares?
The people care, Bull. The people care.
gives
We
a
got duped.
crap
All
on
right,
it?
continue on your
No,
take.
you killed my momentum there. The point is,
No. Here's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with you're switching two whole people in and out based on righty lefty combinations each time?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I would like to see Manzardo play every day, but the fact is he hasn't played against lefties in the majors. And they should have, in my opinion, they should have been playing him every day for the last month, since he's been back up last month. They haven't. And so at this point, I don't have a problem with it. The rest of the guys, I don't have a problem with Noel platooning. Brennan, I don't want Brennan against lefties. Noel is still too risky. Like, I like Noel starting against lefties, and then I like being able to bring him in a pinch hitting appearance against a lefty, in a spot off the bench. So, plus he's not great defensively. So, I don't have a problem with it. Listen, you go back to some of the greatest teams. You look at one of the best teams I ever remember as a kid, the 86 Mets, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a great team. Doc Gooden and, anyway, I can go through the whole lineup, but they platooned at second base, Tim Tuffle and Wally Backman. And they
Those aren't real
platooned.
names.
Oh, good old Wally Backman.
That's right.
Tim Tuffle is a real
By the way,
guy?
Tim Tuffle, they got him from the Twins. Wally Backman has some of the most famous video rants of him as a minor league manager. You gotta Google Wally Backman, minor league manager. He goes off on his players. He basically got blackballed from managing because he just killed the players. And then in center field, they used to platoon. You'll know these names: Mookie Wilson and Lenny Dykstra.
Yeah. Okay.
I know them. Those are real.
Those are real.
In center field. So it's nothing unusual. Yes, the Mets, the 86 Mets did have a guy named Howard Johnson. That is true.
Hojo,
right. So
Hojo.
I got no problem with them platooning in certain spots. You love to be in a situation where you don't have to, that you have guys that are excellent against lefties and righties. And I think in the long term, Manzardo is going to be really good and play every day. But remember, Josh Naylor platooned there for many years early in his career because he couldn't hit lefties. And then I had kind of given up on him hitting lefties. And then he finally came around after like 5 years and started hitting lefties. And now he plays every day. So, So no, I don't. To answer your question, I do not have a problem with it, and I think they're in good shape heading into the playoffs. Somebody asked if I'm worried about them missing. I think it was Steve might ask, "Are you worried about them having 5 days off?" I'm not, because they're playing hard to the end here. Last year, a couple of teams that got eliminated early, they had clinched really early and were kind of cruising to the finish line for weeks and weeks. So they didn't play a game that mattered for like 3 weeks. I mean, the Guardians are still playing games that matter. They still want to be the number one seed. It's not likely, but they're only a game and a half behind the Yankees for the top seed in the American League. So Yankees have the tiebreaker, but that's not out of the question. The Yankees are playing the Orioles right now. They could easily get swept in that series. So I think the Guardians still have something to play for. So I am not worried about the 5 days off. And I like that they get to set their rotation exactly the way they want it.
Well, I feel like with the layoff, it's like a team-by-team basis in terms of whether they can overcome it, whether it's going to derail all their momentum. But for a young team like the Guards that doesn't really know any better, I have less of a concern about a few days off to rest up any nicks and knacks, set your rotation, get everyone back 100% locked in than I would for a team that is accustomed to getting into a playoff routine early and then having it be completely different. They don't really know any better. So yeah, I'm not too worried about this.
I think people are a little prisoner of the moment because last year, Diamondbacks and Rangers both barely made the playoffs, and then they both got to the World Series. But it is, as you say, it's a team-by-team thing, a year-by-year thing. I think most teams would still rather get those few days of rest and be able to set themselves up. Plus, the first round is so risky because it's only a 3-game series. And what if you had to play the Tigers in the first round, and now you got to face Tarek Skubal in the first game, and all of a sudden you're down 1-0 and you got to win 2 straight? Like, I don't want to be in that situation.
Adam, so who are we likely to play? We have the bye, so who you think we're gonna who's gonna be the matchup coming into us?
So I think they'll probably end up playing the Astros, so you'll play the Astros to end the season, and then you'll play them to start the playoffs, which is interesting. But the Astros are going to be the 3 seed. They're locked into. Well, I don't know if they've clinched the division. I'm not sure.
I think they have.
I think they have.
Seattle's been playing terrible baseball lately.
Yeah. So they've so they'll be the 3 seed. The question is who's going to be the 6 seed. Detroit's playing great. Plus they've got the White Sox the last 3 games, so I think they're going to get that second wild card and be the 5. I think Kansas City will hold on and be the 6. So I think it'll be the Astros against the Royals, and the Guardians will play the winner of that series, which I think will be the Astros. So I think, again, you never know. It's a 3-game series, and the Royals have decent starting pitching. So the Guardians will but I think I'll pick the Astros to win that series, and so I say they most likely play the Astros.
Bull, with them playing the Astros to end the regular season, them being the Guardians, assuming the 1 seed is not still in play. If the 1 seed's in play, you obviously go out and win.
Yeah.
In baseball, you can't really hold anything back and hide anything, but do you manage that series any differently? Do you maybe not show some guys in the bullpen knowing you could face them again in about a week?
I don't think so, because I think it's not like with football where you're like, well, I don't want to run these certain plays that I'm going to use in the playoffs. I mean, in baseball, there's some strategy in terms of, okay, like if I'm Tanner Bybee, and I think, okay, well, game 1 against the Astros, first of all, they're not going to know they're going to play the Astros for sure. But number 2, the one thing you would do a little differently, if I'm Tanner Bybee, and let's say they bring him back to start Sunday's game against the Astros, and it looks likely they'll play the Astros in the DS, and maybe he thinks the best way to attack the Astro hitters is with a lot of 4-seam fastballs. He's got to be heavy on his 4-seam fastball. Well, maybe he works on some other pitches a little more in that start to kind of confuse them. So I think his pitch mix could be different based on that. But like with Emmanuel Clase, like what he throws. He's not pulling out of pitches out of left field, and he just throws it, and you can't hit it, or you can't hit it well. So. No, I don't think that's the case. With the starting pitchers, maybe a little of that gamesmanship.
Are you if you do pitch Bybee against the Astros, are you worried that maybe they hit him a little bit, and then he comes back and he's like, okay, you're not worried about his psyche a little bit in the second part, when they get to the playoffs, because people say, like there's a thing of saying, I play the Astros and they've always hit me hard, or I had a bad last outing. Do you think, are you kind of worried about that? Or you just say, hopefully he's able to block it out if he doesn't pitch that well?
I'm not. I also think if the Astros have nothing, unlike the Guardians, the Astros are not going to have 5 days off.
Right.
So they might, if Bybee pitches Sunday and the Astros are locked into that 3 spot, which they may already be and certainly will be by Sunday, they may start a bunch of young players. Like they'll probably sit Altuve and Bregman and a lot of and Alvarez if he's ready to go, and Kyle Tucker, like all these veteran hitters they have. They're probably not going to play those guys on Sunday anyway. So Bybee won't be facing. My guess is a lot of those top hitters in that game anyway, because the Astros are going to be like, well, we got to play in 2 days. Let's give our veteran players a day or 2 off here. Right. Breather. So I think that could be a perfect, because you'll face all these young hitters. You'll probably have success, and and I'd only pitch him a few innings, but I don't want him to go. I think better to risk he gets beat up a little bit, which I don't think would happen, but then to have him sit for 12. I don't think you want him sitting, 11 days before 12 days, whatever, before his first start.
But we're gonna.
Browns. Oh, good. Sorry.
No, Dustin, all you. Dustin.
I was just gonna ask Bull if he feels like this team, the way they're playing right now, is a good thing. Like, do you feel like they're in the right spot to peak at the right time here? As we're gonna have the bye. Steve texted us about, like, you worried about the time off or whatever. Yeah. Like, do you feel like this team, Adam, is in position to to actually make a run this year? Maybe something like could they make a run, better than 2016 where they could actually win the damn thing?
I think they could. I mean, because it's baseball, you never know. They could just as easily lose in the first round. I do think it's as wide open as the American League has been. I don't think there's a clear favorite. Obviously, the Guardians are only a game and a half back of the Yankees for the best record. And like in years past, you could have argued, well, the American League Central stinks, so that's why their records are close. But obviously, outside of the White Sox, that's not the case this year because all three of these teams, two of the other three are making the playoffs, and the third is barely going to miss out. So this division.
I guess I was saying, like, in terms of just the way we're playing.
Yes,
hitting, pitching, bullpen, like all the key ingredients. Is there something that's lacking right now, or do you feel like this is like we're hitting our stride at the right time?
I do feel like they are. I think Tanner Bybee's pitching his best baseball. The bullpen's been great all year. Jose and Naylor have just started picking it up. Jimenez has been a little better lately. And Manzardo and Lane Thomas are playing their best baseball of the year. Outside of Kwan, and guys like Matthew Boyd, who pitched better like a few weeks ago than more recently. I think the majority of the team is kind of in a good zone right now. So yes, overall, I would say yes.
Good.
To that question.
Good. All right, Bo, let's move on and talk a little Cleveland Browns after a quick word from BetterHelp. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You guys know it is always difficult to talk to people about certain things that make you uncomfortable, but thanks to BetterHelp, you can get a personalized therapist to talk to help bring broader benefits to your world. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Antonio Pierce talked about potentially making a quarterback change earlier in the week, going from Gardner Minshew to Aiden O'Connell, but yesterday said, nope, we're sticking with Minshew. As you guys all remember, Minshew tore up the Browns defense last year when he was with the Indianapolis Colts in the game that P.J. Walker led the comeback victory for the Browns in that game. Looking at what Minshew did against this Browns defense last year, none of us expected it. What changes do Schwartz and company have to make to avoid that same fate happening again this time around?
Well, look, Jim Schwartz, I think it's not as much about Gardner Minshew. It's about, what the defense is their philosophy is. They're going to be aggressive, but sometimes you're going to have some wrinkles a little bit. Last year, they gave up big plays to Gardner Minshew. They threw a couple of times where it was one-play scores, and I think it happened 2 or 3 times in that game. Gardner Minshew was also able to kind of scramble. He's able to extend plays, and he's able to, find guys downfield when he does it. So, when you're playing a quarterback, and mobile quarterbacks give the Browns a little bit of problems. You go back and look at obviously the Ravens game, and when they were here, you take a look at Gardner Minshew. He scrambled a lot in that game. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. And the Browns, to me, are very, they get upfield, they do some of those things, and if they can get to the quarterback and put you behind the 8 ball a little bit, it's a downhill game from the rest of the time when you're looking at, especially in terms of the front 4. Myles Garrett's a little bit hobbled. I don't know if they're going to bring that many blitzes, but I do think that they're going to have to play some match coverage in the back end. They're going to have to be able to tackle an open space, and they can't give up large plays, one-play scores like that. Devontae Adams is one of the better receivers in the league. So I think they're going to have to, they're going to have to play discipline. They're going to have to not miss tackles, and when you do get a chance to get home, you have to make those plays. You can't miss plays on the perimeter, and they got to stop getting spread east and west in terms of the jet sweep stuff, and teams have been doing that against them for the last, I would say, 6-7 games successfully.
By the way, I don't know if you guys mentioned this, or I don't even know if it changed till this morning, but the Browns opened as a 1.5-point favorite in this game. And as of this morning, depending on what sports book you look at, they're anywhere from now a 1 to a 1.5-point underdog.
Yeah, we're going to talk about which team should be favored at some point this week. We didn't get to it yesterday, though.
Yeah.
Dustin, what do you got to do to stop Gardner Minshew this time around? Avoid that.
I mean, listen, the Browns have to find a way to sort of keep him in the pocket. You know, you're going to face mobile quarterbacks certainly in this division and throughout the rest of the season. Minshew is not like he's not Lamar Jackson, but you saw it last year. Like the guy can certainly take off and run. I honestly think he's in his head a little bit right now too. So I think the Browns have to take advantage of that. I watched the entire game against Carolina this weekend, and I was actually really impressed with the way Carolina was able to pressure him. He did not look comfortable in the pocket. I think it's important early in this game for the Browns to I don't know if they're going to be able to tee off on him, but when I say that, I mean I would be bringing a lot of pressure if I'm Jim Schwartz, especially early, to try and rattle him. The news out of Las Vegas is that, you know, at least internally, is that Aiden O'Connell is like right there. I mean, the way that Minshew played on Sunday has put the conversation squarely on the quarterback position. And I don't like they're going to start Minshew in this game, but don't be surprised if O'Connell comes in. He played really well last year as a rookie at times. And that could certainly be a factor in the game. Like if Minshew starts and you know gets off to 2 bad series, you could see O'Connell come in. I think O'Connell's got a better arm, and certainly not as mobile. In fact, he's not mobile at all. He's more of a statue back there. But I do think he can pick you apart if you give him time.
You know what's funny is Minshew played pretty well the week before when they came back and beat the Ravens.
He did.
And
yeah,
but
Adam, there's a reason Minshew is Minshew. Like Minshew is going to have those. Minshew is like for Ryan Fitzpatrick, dude.
I was just going to say
he's going to have those moments.
Yeah, he's a backup quarterback for a reason. He's not a starter.
He's on a 2-year, $25 million deal. Like that's he's a very highly paid, like serviceable starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, he's in that same category. Fitzpatrick, Jacoby Brissett, these guys who can be starters brief period of time, but ideally they're, you know, top-notch backups. So, I mean, yes, Minshew did kill them last year. I think he had better talent around him in Miami. I know they got Devontae Adams, who's great, you know, and he's better than Michael Pittman, but you know, the Colts had Jonathan Taylor, or did they not have Jonathan Taylor for that game?
Yeah, they had,
right?
I think it was his first game back.
And they had Zach Moss, who had a great year last year for Indianapolis. So the Raiders' running game is not quite as good. They don't have any other, you know, their other receivers are nothing special. This kid Brock Bowers, the rookie tight end, is good, but he's still a rookie. But I think the question is, will Jim Schwartz learn a lesson from last week with Malik Neighbors, and will he put Denzel Ward squarely on Devontae Adams the whole game?
Sibo, if you watched the show yesterday, we know we spent 20 minutes on this very topic.
Sorry.
And everyone said
yes, no.
I'll let you guys answer.
Yeah.
Listen, when it comes to top flight receivers, he's gonna have to do that. Like sometimes, you know, you have to break tendency a little bit because these guys watch film too. I think we've overestimated how good Martin Emerson and Greg
Newsome.
G New. I tried not to say his nickname because I don't be liking to say his nickname, but I think we've really started to see that those two guys are good corners, but they're not up to the level of Denzel Ward. Both of those guys have flaws in their game, and you watch it the first 2 games, they're actually picking those guys out and said, listen, this is the mismatch we want. We're gonna put him in motion. We're gonna find Emerson, and we're gonna have a long day on him. This week you got Bowers, and he's a really good player. He's a guy that can run away from you. And by the way, they will dust off the tight end reverse and jet sweep, handing him the football from Georgia. Please believe that's coming, Browns. I'm just let you know that right now. But to me, it's more or less it's less about the Raiders and Minshew and more about what is this Cleveland Browns defense? What are they? Are they the team that we saw last year? Are they the same dominant attacking style defense where it didn't matter who they plugged in, whether it was Shelby Harris or anybody up front, Obo Ankaranko? There's a lot of guys who are not playing up to that standard that they played last year. And I don't think that you can look at Myles Garrett as a guy who you can just challenge and say, okay, we have Myles Garrett, who you're going to block him with. and run him off the edge and he gets triple teamed. I think they're going to have to do some different things. What happened to some of those twists and texts and stunts? What happened to, guys lining up, standing up? What happened to some of that stuff? I want to see more of that moving forward, because I think you're going to have to actually get a little tricky. I know they want to be base and do what they do, but sometimes you got to break tendency a little bit.
We got Leroy in there.
We do. Let me do a quick read. We'll bring Leroy
Okay.
right in. And luckily with StreamYard, which is how we do our remote shows, it's simple to get guests in. Almost as easy as it is to get $200 in bonus bets from FanDuel right now, because you can start the NFL season with a big return on FanDuel, America's undisputed #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And right now, if you use promo code FanDuel.com/UCSS, you get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed just by placing a $5 bet. Never waste a hunch and make some money on FanDuel, which makes every moment more and is an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And with that, let's welcome in Leroy.
What's up, Leroy?
What's up, fellas? What's up,
Leroy? What's up, man?
Leroy, what do you think about, we were just talking about, G was commenting on it, we're going to hear Dustin a little later on it, but the fact that last week Malik Neighbors just destroyed Newsome and Emerson, and then when they put Ward on him, and the Giants got conservative, that's part of it, but Ward's a different level of player than those other two guys. With Devontae Adams this week, and just in general, when you play against a team that has a superstar wide receiver, do you think Jim Schwartz should go away from his tendencies, as G suggests, and have Denzel Ward play one-on-one with that great receiver?
Here's what happens that catches you off guard, okay? One of the things that makes that secondary great is the pass rush, okay? Now, let's be clear. You wasn't playing Montana, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. It was Daniel Jones, who their team didn't even want as quarterback. But they paid him a lot of money, so he had to play quarterback. So the fact that we all know Malik Neighbors can ball. The fact that you gave that quarterback, who has a propensity to throw it to the other team, all that time to sit back there and find his guy, that's more of the issue. Like, yeah, eventually you can switch to that once you realize you're not getting no pressure. But the surprise of that game wasn't that Neighbors is really good. The surprise is Daniel Jones picked you apart.
Yep.
And so from that standpoint, let's go, to the origins of it. We're looking at the end of the play. We forget that. Have you seen Daniel Jones the last 2-3 years? Have you ever seen him do that? That's the problem. So whatever you had to do to change his clock, forget who's running in the secondary. You needed to do something to change his clock and get him to doing the things he normally does. And when you didn't do that and he picked you apart, I understand we watching the game being shocked. Not because it's Malik Neighbors, but because it's Daniel Jones. So we got it kind of backwards there.
Okay.
You're looking at the end result. I'm looking at the beginning. Why we ain't making Daniel Jones uncomfortable?
Good question.
Yeah, and the other thing too, Leroy, is Daniel Jones is a pretty athletic quarterback.
Yeah,
and he was able to make some plays with his legs. We were just talking before you came on about Minshew this weekend. Like that could be another problem for the Browns, like it was last year when they played him when he was in Jacksonville. Like, does that concern you at all? I mean, because we're gonna have to face Lamar twice.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal: is that when you have a quarterback like that, then you got to pay attention to detail. Don't leave no gaping holes for him to get through, right? And to what Bush was talking about, run them tackle in games, get some pressure up the middle, make sure you contain outside, close that pocket on him, and make sure that he doesn't have an escape plan. The worst defense in the world. Okay, I'm gonna tell you all this right now. Spy. I don't care who your quarterback is or who your linebacker is. You telling me you can guard one man 50 by 50? Because you don't know where he's coming out, right? So it always seemed like, why did he run for so many yards? We had a spy. Because one guy can't cover him. Right? We just asked about why is so-and-so being single covered in the secondary. Then why are you putting the linebacker on athletic quarterback? Just imagine if you had somebody, you were playing somebody like Lamar Jackson, and you put him at wide receiver. Would you cover him with the guy you spying with him on? So what the hell makes you think you could do it then? You're just wasting the defender. Blitz him.
True.
So I don't believe in the spy. I believe in, the defense and being where you're supposed to be. Now, there's certain guys we have exceptions for that. Okay? Myles Garrett is one of them. You do what you got to do because he's that good and he can make a difference. He a little banged up. I got to tell you, I've never seen a football team where they talking about if one more offensive lineman get hurt, we ain't got no more. Right? I'm like,
we just done.
You got guys playing positions that you moved them out of that position because they wasn't really good at it. Mm. So it was like, and I'm seeing a lot of this throughout the NFL. And I asked the question today on my show. While we sitting here looking at all these injuries, and Fox, you can attest to this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much you practice, how much you run. Hell, we run all summer. That pressure you put on your hammies and your quads and your core on game day is totally different. And you asking a whole bunch of grown men making a lot of money to sit on their ass for a month, but then week one, let's go. And guess who's not having those problems? Look how much Kansas City played in the preseason.
Yep.
Right? So don't tell me that you worried about guys getting hurt. You got to get them ready for the season. And I'm seeing a lot of this. It's not just the Browns. It's not just, you know what? An offensive line can't play in the regular season together if they never played together. Them guys need to get work. It don't have to be a lot. But you still got to get the juices flowing. You got to get, your mind right. You got to get the attitude to get ready for a game. And it looks throughout the league like these guys say, oh, I'm going to be ready during the regular season. I have never played for a coach that thought that. Now all of a sudden everybody thinks that.
Leroy, we saw what the game plan was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mm-hmm. Deontay Foreman got touches early, often. Mm-hmm. You establish something up front. We come into this game. I think he gets 2 carries, and we're back to empty formations and 5-yard checkdowns. I'm at the point of this. I'm at a point of frustration because just like Dustin said, when you watch these other teams and you get access to the film, you watching other teams and the way they go about creating a game plan, it seems like when I'm watching the Cleveland Browns, it's almost like they feel it's bad to run the football, or they're getting penalized, or they feel they're begrudging because they have to play a certain way to win. Rather than playing that way and winning football games, it seems like they would rather lose and do it like
play a certain way. I would say this. And I thought about this, and I don't want to put this all on the offensive line, but there were times where there wasn't a person in the backfield that had a second to do anything. And as a coach, when you see stuff like that, your first thought is, let's get it outside as quick as possible. Right? Now, the reason why I give Kevin Stefanski a break is because, for the most part, since he's been the coach, he's been able to get out of all these certain situations and have some success. But everything changed every play. So now you got to change and evolve, and the game's not that long. Like, what would you suggest an offensive play be when you got 5 offensive linemen and only one of them is playing the position they play? Right? You're asking a lot of your team. Now, if I were to have a complaint about the offensive line and it's nobody's fault, it's Bill Callahan. Because the same group of guys, no matter what the situation was, seemed to hold it together. And we just dismissed that. Now, he left for a great reason. So it's not anybody's fault, but we underestimate how good of a coach that man was at offensive line.
You know what, Leroy? To follow up on that, yesterday on my podcast, I had a chance to interview former NFL player and head coach Ron Rivera.
Uh-huh.
And he brought up Bill Callahan, and he said, yes, it is. Obviously, it's a big loss from a coaching perspective. But I asked him this, and he actually said that I think there's some truth here, that Bill Callahan is the type of coach that he's hard on his players. He's tough. Mm-hmm. He's tough on his players.
Yeah.
And he thinks that because Kevin Stefanski is more of a player's coach, he's not a hard ass like that, that the combination of Stefanski and Callahan together kind of balanced each other nicely,
right? And
that they might be missing that hard edge on the offense.
There's certain positions on the football field that you got to be tough. And it's got to be a demand on you to be tough at all times. And that's what Bill Callahan was. Kevin Stefanski is not necessarily that guy. But and that's okay, right? Yeah. But you're right in having that mix, a coach that'll hold you. And guess what? You can be a player's coach and be a hard ass. One ain't got nothing to do with the other. One is accountability and demanding of your players while caring about their success. You can't, it's not necessary to be one or the other.
Okay.
But some people's personalities just don't know. If Kevin Stefanski came out and tried to do that, his players wouldn't respect him because it would be fake.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is. But I just see the way the offensive line is, right? And knowing the way Bill Callahan was, he would have had almost an aneurysm on the sideline with that nonsense going on.
Leroy, I saw guys. I saw Jared Wills literally spin in one circle and look at one guy go in front of him and another guy go behind him and never touch nobody. I saw Nick Harris just whiff on a block. Yeah. And, like, it infuriates me to see guys at the position that you play and watch seem like they don't have no fight or want to when their guys are getting tackled and hit in the backfield. Like
sometimes, even if you don't have the talent to do it, and Fox, you could attest to this. Mm-hmm. Sometimes because you feel responsible to the other 10 guys on the field, you reach somewhere deep and do things that your body know damn well you shouldn't be doing. Right? Not because you're that good, but because you know that the other 10 guys on that field are depending on you. Yep. When I see Deshaun back there, right? Soon as the ball snapped, he can't even look downfield. And I don't know how much of that is so many guys get moved around. So I'm a kind of I get what you're saying, Bush, but I'm not gonna lean into that, right? Because I mean, who's playing left tackle that they moved him away from left tackle because he wasn't left tackle.
Is that DeJuan?
But was it
No, but Tony, they moved Batonio out to guard, out to tackle. I thought
tackle.
I thought after he got beat by Brian Burns, he actually played pretty good at left tackle, which is hard for a guard to do.
Right. So it's a lot of things going on that you want answers for, and the answers are all over the place, right? But if I could go to one place and say, what could have made this better with the same situations, I would say Bill Callahan wouldn't allow that. Right. And I don't know how else to put it. Yeah. It's some unfortunate. Look, football is such that things happen to you and happen during the course of a game where you don't know how you're going to get through it, but you got to find a way. And they were not able to find a way with all the circumstances going on. The one thing I would have done differently during the course of that game, if I'm going to have an open receiver, it's going to be because I blitzed everybody. It ain't going to be because I sat back and watched him run around and get open. Right. Put some pressure on Daniel Jones. I would have did that from start to finish. I don't want any quarterback, especially a quarterback who already is known for making mistakes, to sit back there and get comfortable. That's the only thing different I would have done. Offensively, as much as I tried to come up with solutions, the game, offensive football, starts with your front five. And the fact that they moved around so much, it was just searching and trying to find any kind of way to have a successful play to move forward. And it became difficult with all the movement. You know, like you said guys turning and looking, and that could just be because of bad step because he hadn't worked with the guy next to him. And it looks bad. But consistency at offensive line, when you don't have that, it's hard to have consistent offense.
Leroy, there was an article yesterday, some of the advanced analytics on the Browns, and just sort of shows how bad that they've been this season, not just for us watching them, but like statistically, this is the worst offensive performance through 3 games they've had since '99. And like, we're talking 3.8 yards per play, 18% on third down through 3 games. Like, this is just not going to get it done. We've got Stefanski, who is this offensive guru. You bring in the new system. Like, everyone keeps talking about all these excuses, like the offensive line's banged up. We don't have Nick Chubb. It's this, that, the other. And I don't know what to tell people, but like, you've got a quarterback who's supposed to be this franchise guy. And there's other guys around the league that have offensive line issues too. So I guess my question would be like, is it the O-line or is it Deshaun? I mean, I know it's probably a combination of both, but why can't Stefanski come in and say, okay, we do this well, so let's just freaking do that? They don't do anything that they do well consistently.
Because I think for 3 weeks, they've been searching themselves, right? You have success in spurts, but you don't have anything consistent.
Right.
And so it's hard. Like, in years past, you could always say this: whoever's playing quarterback, we're going to run the ball down your throat. You can't say that right now because you don't have that guy. The offensive line is not really gelling because they're making changes every other play. And, with the way passing is, and I said this either last week or a couple of weeks before, that look at all quarterbacks. Like, we sit here talk about Deshaun. All these quarterbacks are 20 for 30 for 160 yards. Like, I don't know what happened, but that's the way the whole league is going, to these short, quick passes. I will say this though: the only teams that seem to be having success, and I love the way people say you can find running backs anywhere, are the teams that's running the football with that guy. Right? the teams that have committed to running with that guy. So you look at Philly, right? You look at the Ravens. You look at what Pittsburgh's trying to do. You look at all these teams that have made a conscious effort to be physical up front and run the football. Those are the teams that no matter what, they're going to be in the football game. So I get all these short passes and call them outside runs. No, they not. Because guess what? No matter how short the pass is, only one good thing could happen out of three things.
Yeah, but Leroy, last thing, to be fair, yes, passing numbers are down, but Deshaun, if you look at any quarterback that's played all three games, or I'll say at least thrown 90 passes this year or 80 passes, nobody has less passing. The only quarterbacks with less passing yards than Deshaun are Justin Fields, who's thrown 40 less passes,
right?
Tua, who's played like 1.5 games,
correct?
Justin Herbert, who left the last game early, and Jacoby Brissett. That's it. Those are the only guys with less passing yards than Deshaun right now.
I got you, but you can't have it both ways. You can't talk about the yards and then talk about these little short passes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they want to go down the field. Do they have time? Like look, collectively, it needs to get better.
Yeah.
They need to figure it out collectively, but it all starts, if I could give you one simple answer, I would say until the offensive line protects a little bit better, gets better fits on their runs, then the offense is going to be shot because nothing moves without them. That's been a fact of football since I've been around it. And we all know this.
Leroy, fair enough. Good stuff, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
All righty.
Next week.
All right. Have a good one.
Leroy.
Thanks, Leroy.
Talking with Leroy. We'll bring Mikey McNuggets back in. We're going to have Shaun King back in with us in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, Sean's gonna join us in a sec, but I wanted to ask something off what Leroy said there. He talked about running the ball, and I think we could all agree they need to try and run the ball more, but they haven't had a ton of success when they've tried to run the ball. At what point do you – let me rephrase that. How do you try and balance having a more balanced offense and attempting to run the ball more, even if you're not having success and it's putting you behind the chains a ton? How does that balance come into play with how Stefanski's putting together these game plans?
Go ahead, guys.
I mean, I guess, you sort of have to think about it like backwards a little bit. Like a lot of times, teams will, run the ball to try to set up the pass. And sometimes you got to do the opposite, right? Stefanski always does such a good job, like scripting these first 15 plays of the game. It's like, why can't we do some of those things that we scripted out like later in the game? It's just bizarre to me how the offense can fall apart so quickly after the first quarter. The Browns have to be one of the best first quarter teams over the last, X amount of years that Stefanski's been here. I don't understand it. You can play complementary football and have success. The Browns have shown that in the past. Guys, I don't know about y'all, but I don't know why I went country there, y'all.
Yeah, you
but,
did. I was just saying.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why they can't do some of the things that they've done in the past. I just think that this Dorsey situation with the new offense is holding them back right now. Maybe they don't have the horses to run this offense, and as they try to figure it out, well, time's going to pass you by on this season. I know that the AFC is sort of like cannibalizing themselves right now, but boy, you don't got time. Like the Browns got to win this weekend. You can't go to 1-3.
So, well, look, this is my thing. It never made any sense to me, and it still don't make no sense. If you're going to hire an offensive coordinator because you feel like he's going to come in and design plays and get better in the area in which you are lacking, you have to give him full control of it. There is no, hey, I'm going to let you design the plays, but I'm not going to call the plays. That aspect of it is not working. It just simply is not. Because how are you going to – calling the plays is basically saying, I am going to have a feel for what I need to – when you calling plays, you setting stuff up. You was like, okay, I designed to play this way. I got the personnel in mind. Now it's time for me to schedule and put together the pieces and parts to get a nice drive and cohesive scripting. But now you got somebody else that's trying to figure out what your vision is. No one can figure out what your vision is. If Kevin Stefanski wants to be an offensive coordinator, just let's stop the charades. You don't need Alex Van Pelt. You don't need Dorsey. Step in, put the badge on your chest and say, I'm the offensive coordinator, so we can actually come to you and say, this part of your offense sucks. Because right now we're like, well, can I blame Dorsey? I don't know, maybe it's Stefanski. I don't know. Right now, they don't have the horses to run what they need to run. We sitting back here dropping back 5 wide. We are a traditional run blocking, play action built offensive line. Now, all of a sudden in the year, in the 33rd year of his life, Joe Bitonio is supposed to be a drop back. He's now Tony Baselli. You still got situations where you don't have a running game, where you don't have Nick Chubb, and you don't have any wide receivers that can get vertical.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
There's all kinds of problems right now because the offensive line's not good enough. The quarterback doesn't see the field and misses reads all the time. The wide receivers are not getting open, and they've got injuries to deal with. So it's hard right now. I mean, there's nothing going well on the offense. By the way, just to give Jerome Ford a little credit, because I feel like we always crap on this guy. There's 32, and this is one stat. I don't know how great it is. It's not obviously not an advanced analytic, but there are 32 running backs in the NFL with at least 29 carries through 3 games. And Jerome Ford is one of them. Of those 32, Jerome Ford is 8th in yards per carry. That's much better than I thought.
He did have the 34-yard carry on the 4th and inches, but I'm not taking that out.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys
I'm not taking that out. He gets full credit for that. Speaking of full credit, I'm going to drop out of here in 1 second. We're going to bring Shaun King, and he's ready. And the segment with Shaun King, as always, is brought to you guys by BetterHelp. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you guys would like to learn? For me, it's Spanish. I really want to learn how a second language, or maybe to play the piano, something along those lines. And therapy can help reconnect you with your sense of wonder, because your back-to-school era can come at any time. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. And I'll see you guys in a minute, because we now have Shaun King here to help us break down what he saw from Deshaun in the offense against the Giants.
Hey, Shaun, how are you, man?
I'm good.
How's Shaun?
you doing?
What up?
Hey,
good,
I'll
man.
say this when I come on: as bad as you think it is in Cleveland, it's worse in Dallas right now. Trust me.
But they deserve it to be bad, Shaun. They deserve it because they're fair weather fans, and they're few real fans that they have seen Super Bowl championships. Our fans have never seen a Super Bowl appearance, let alone a Super Bowl championship.
Let me say this. Here's my takeaway. I think for some reason, Dorsey, Stefanski, Dorsey, I'm not really sure the dynamics of that. I don't agree with that at all. I think they got to be more clear about who's doing what. They're finding out the strengths and weaknesses of this year's team. For so long, you guys have been able to really depend upon Nick Chubb in that run game to establish a level of physicality, to control time of possession, to be something that you can lean on. That offensive line is getting no movement right now. They're using Jerome Ford in the wrong way. He's not an in-between the tackle runner. All his explosive runs and explosive plays come when they get on the edges. Yet they spend the majority of the time handing him the ball in between the tackles. They're not also, the offensive line didn't pass protect them well. I don't think the route schemes are matching up with the talent of the offensive line. If you look at this game, everything was vertical pass combinations. I mean, Judy, Amari, these guys, everything was 10 yards plus for a large portion of the game, and they just weren't protecting at that level. Last thing before I let you guys back in, hat tip to the Giants. Man, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Audrey, man, them guys got after the Browns, especially in passing situations.
You know, Shaun, you know, when we watching your offense, there's so much, and it gets frustrating sometimes because, you know, people who watch this show or want to talk about the Browns, it got to be all this or all that. It got to either be the quarterback's trash, the offensive line. and complementary football does not exist in their vocabulary. Talk about marrying those route combinations to the guys up front and how you have to have both of those guys cohesively working together to complete some of those passes that you want to see vertically.
100%. And I think it starts with the play caller. I think they had a very disrespectful game plan for the Giants' level of talent. Man, the Giants got some dudes on that defensive front. Lawrence, Burns, Thibodeau, Ojulari, like they can rush the quarterback. And Stefanski's game plan was, man, we're going to throw this ball down the field. We're going to be aggressive. And once I think the pass protection issue started, I didn't think he did a good job of adjusting and taking it to more of a quick, get the ball out of Deshaun's hands. Now get to Deshaun. I thought Deshaun played pretty solid first half. I thought he had a really bad third quarter from a read standpoint, from an accuracy standpoint, from a decision-making standpoint. And at the end of the day, the fan base wants to point the finger at Deshaun because that's easy. And he didn't play his best football in the second half, but it is a combined effort to be successful on offense. It's not just one person or one thing.
Let's talk a little bit about this defense here, and just kind of like where we're at with this group. I mean, at times they look like they're flying around and making plays, and then the next second, they're all dancing, taking pictures as there's a penalty on the field. I know we sort of beat that dead horse to death here with that penalty, but I don't know. I sort of thought the defense would be better. I guess I don't know if it's the fact that the offense is so bad that it's putting the defense in tough spots, if it's frustrating or what have you. But I think obviously on Sunday, that Giants offense is not good. Daniel Jones has not been a good quarterback in this league, yet somehow we made him look like Joe Montana.
And the surprising thing was the time of possession, the length of the Giants' drives. Like, I get it. Like, you get beat by an explosive play. Malik Neighbors jumps over somebody's head, makes a one-handed catch, or, something that you just can't defend happens. But, I mean, their inability to get off the field on third down, the inability to play penalty-free and not give up free first downs, it was surprising because even with the healthy Nick Chubb, I thought for the Browns to get to the playoffs and have a chance to win it, it was going to be based on their defense being elite. I will say this. If you look at the AFC North, everybody's radio row or whatever is talking the same thing this week. The Ravens are 1-2. The Bengals can't find a way to win. They're talking about Joe Burrow looks like Ellen DeGeneres coming to the game. Like, I mean,
kind of did.
The memes are out there. So Cleveland, don't panic. We'll do some video breakdowns later that we'll post with me and Mike Lucas, I think it is today, showing some of giving visuals of some of the times where I think Deshaun missed opportunities from a decision-making process. And if I was coaching Deshaun, here will be my narrative in Monday's session. In a game like this where the defense isn't playing their best, where we aren't running the ball effectively, you got to be perfect. That's why you make the amount of money you make. And that could be fair or unfair, but when everything around you is imperfect, I'm dependent on you to be perfect, especially for the plays that you should make. Making the right decision against the blitz. I thought he was really bad when the Giants brought pressure about where he decided to go with the football. Making your layups. When guys are open, he's got Amari Cooper on a crossing route that if he puts that ball on and the DB falls down, Amari's going to probably score. He throws it high, air mails it, sort of like Trevor Lawrence did last night or Monday night on the interception that DeMar Hamlin got. Like, when you play these guys this big, I expect you to make all your layups.
And Shaun, I'm gonna throw it just really quickly.
Yeah.
On that RPO play, you have Jordan Akins that's in the flat. If he hits him on time, that's a first down. What do you think is causing the slowness? There's sometimes on deep comeback routes, if he throws it with anticipation, that play would be completed. Why do you think the processing has been slow for Deshaun Watson, especially when some people say when you do know that they are blitzing you're anticipating the ball has to come out quicker? Why do you think it's being so slow?
I think you'd have to be in the quarterback room to fairly give an opinion on that. What is he being told? You know, what are the receivers? Where's the connectivity between what the receiver's seeing, what the quarterback's seeing? Are they side adjusting their routes? Are there built-in throws for pressure looks? I would say this, if you guys watched the film breakdown from the Jaguars game on the corner route to Jerry Jeudy, where I said he was a hitch too many and he was slow. I said it could have been a touchdown. He was slow again, and that's what caused the sack fumble. He had Jeudy. Yeah, he had Jeudy. He took the second hit just like he did the week before. What's causing that? I'm not sure. Is it he's not seeing it clearly? Is it he's not recognizing the routes that are being run? I will say this. It's not just Deshaun. I've got 2 breakdowns from me and Mike Lucas. I have no earth. I've been playing quarterback and coaching quarterbacks and I've been offensive coordinator all my life. As long as I could talk and walk, I've been throwing the football and looking up. I have no idea what Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper are doing on a couple of these routes.
Wow.
I've never seen them before. I don't know what the route is.
They created routes.
You know how you find a glitch in Madden? Like these are some Madden glitch routes a couple times. I don't know what's going on. So when you add in, it doesn't take much now in this league to look back. When you add in a couple times, I have no idea what Jeudy and Cooper are doing. The offensive line isn't protecting at a high level. Deshaun misses a couple reads and throws. Now you end up losing to an inferior opponent in the Giants. That's how it happens.
Yeah, there's nothing to hang your hat on right now with the Browns offense. The offensive line's playing bad. The quarterback's playing bad. The wide receivers are playing bad. You know, they can't run the ball particularly well. I mean, there's nothing I could look at on this offense and say, well, at least they've got that. And
I think the reason that Deshaun's going to continue to take criticism, and it's not about whether it's fair or unfair, it's the fact it's going to happen, it's reality, is he should be the shining light.
That's right.
In all of this chaos. This should be like, oh, man, if the Buffalo Bills lose, you still like, damn, Josh Allen the best player on the field.
Right.
I mean, Deshaun's got to embrace that reality, and he got to elevate his play.
And to your point, Shaun, you mentioned in Baltimore and Cincinnati, fans are aggravated, and there's no doubt about that. But what you can say with certainty is neither of those fan bases are aggravated about their quarterback. The Bengals aren't 0-3 because of Joe Burrow. The Ravens aren't 1-2 because of Lamar Jackson. The Bengals defense is, maybe the worst in football, probably the worst in football.
I mean, they got to have the worst combine ratings of any starting 11 on defense. I mean, they can't change direction. They can't make a tackle in space. The Bengals are terrible on defense.
I don't even think in that game, Washington had even 1 3rd and long. I think their longest third down was 3rd and 4 in that game.
Like, I'm a big Jay Daniel fan.
Yeah.
I think they got hits out on me in Chicago because I told them before the draft they should take Jaden over Caleb. But I mean, 90% for a rookie. I mean, you should be embarrassed. The D coordinator, everybody.
Disgusting.
That's embarrassing.
Hey, there wasn't a punt in the game.
It's crazy.
No punch. No first game since 1940 with no punch and no turnovers.
It basically came down to, and I always preach this: Cincinnati's red zone plan was ineffective. That's what the game came down to. The Commanders were scoring touchdowns in the red zone early. The Bengals were kicking field goals.
Yeah.
You said something, Shaun, and you brought up Jane Daniels. I've said this, and I tweeted this before. Last week during the game, I feel like the fans is gonna be all over Deshaun Watson, not just based on how he's playing in that game. People got eyes, right? When you see Jaden Daniels play that way against Cincinnati, as a fan, you want to say, what the heck is going on with my situation? I can't watch Andy Dalton, right, come in and put up 300 on the Raiders. So when you're watching these other games and you're seeing different things around, the goal is for you to play well here, but you are being compared to those who are playing in other games. And you said something that I thought was profound. You said, hey, it ain't fair, but you're going to have to be that guy. You have to be, and check down Charlie, got to go. Would you tell him, listen, we don't mind you making mistakes, but you better put the cape on and forget the game plan and put the cape on, because without the cape, we're not winning.
And, that's the difficult part about this league. It's only 32 of these companies in the world. If you think about this, the NFL is the only professional sport with absolutely no competition. Basketball has become international. I mean, they're playing basketball everywhere. Baseball's always been international. Like football is 32 of these things. And so he getting compared to 31 other guys. And listen, he's not getting compared to Jaden Daniels. He's getting compared to Patrick Mahomes, to Josh Allen, because, you know, of the way he became the quarterback in Cleveland. Right, wrong, and different. You got to embrace that. My dad used to always say, to whom much is given, much is required. You know, he was given an opportunity coming off of some guilty or not guilty, whatever the hell was going on in Houston, to get that opportunity to come be a starting quarterback again on a guaranteed deal. Now these people want to see return on their investment, and that's just the reality. And I would start, if I was coaching, man, listen, let's just do the things that are right there in front of us to be done. Let's hit Amari on the crossing route. You know, let's not double hitch on right. I think it was right before the half, wasn't it? Wasn't it like 38 seconds or something left in the first half on the sack fumble when he was late? And I think it was Ojulari came around the edge, like, just let's get those things and perfect them. And then if we get to where and it's crazy because he's a rookie, where we're Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson, like, where we could take over the game running the ball, like with athleticism, let's do that. But let's just make our layups, man. Let's make our layups.
Sean, and I think to G's point, G, you just brought up Andy Dalton. Like, Andy Dalton had been in mothballs, right? He's way past his prime, and even his prime wasn't, you know, his prime was fine. He was a nice player, but it wasn't like he was a superstar.
Hey, Adam, we're not going to do that, Adam. We're not going to do that. We're going to make the red rifle. We're going to make the red rifle have a couple more weeks before we put him in this conversation.
No. But the only reason I'm bringing it up is because he just last week killed the Raiders, as G said. So if Watson does it, and he did it with the Panthers, it's not like they were any good. I mean, they suck. So if he kills them last week, if Watson doesn't put up big numbers this week, people fairly are going to say, well, why not? Dalton did it with that awful Panther team.
Here's the difference.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton was playing a Raiders team that had just went to Baltimore and had an unbelievable upset win.
Yeah, that's true.
Deshaun Watson is going to be playing a Raiders team where the head coach just said after the game, we had some guys make some business decisions, so we're going to make some business decisions. So there's going to be a different level of focus. This is going to be that Max Crosby and Wilkins is the D tackle they traded for. I mean, they're going to be getting after Deshaun, especially when they look at that tape last week against the Giants. I mean, they're going to have their ears pinned back. So Stefanski, Dorsey, whoever the hell is designing and calling the offense, they're going to have to account for the fact it's going to be a high-energy game by that Raiders D. They're going to be fired up and ready to play. So they're going to have some balance. I know they want to be aggressive. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know that you really have a legit vertical threat. Amari can't run anymore. Like even the touchdown catch in the deep ball, he was blanketed by the defender. That was just a great throw, and he still has strong hands. But he's getting very little separation on a consistent basis. I don't really understand how they're using Jerry Jeudy. I mean, everything is vertical down the field. Like, and him and Elijah are the two guys that do kind of have like some wiggle, some change of direction, and some short area quickness. So I think they got to be smart in how they attack, you know, because of the Raiders front.
How many yards would you? How many carries do you prescribe for the Browns? Like, would you come in as your thought process as an offensive coordinator and you see what's going on? Would you say, "Hey, listen, I got to come in and mandate a certain amount of carries"? Like, even if it ain't working, how would you go about, with no deep threat, like you said, offense lines banged up? What is your game plan for this game?
I think they're gonna have to involve Deshaun in the run game. Like, if you notice, like, their run game is very traditional. None of it's, zone read, QB run type stuff. Like, listen, man, Deshaun, I don't know if you're 100% healthy or not, but, man, we try to win a football game. And until we get Chubb back, we don't really have that bell cow back that can run through contact, that we don't have to block everything perfect and still get positive yardage. Like, they don't have that. So they're going to have to put Deshaun and Jerome Ford and put that apex defender in some situations. And Deshaun has to be part of the run game. That's how I would approach it if I was the coordinator.
Sean, let's wrap it with this. Do the Browns bounce back and get to 500 in Vegas?
I think they do. I think they do. I think it might be a tough game at times, maybe even an ugly game, but I think they find a way to win.
Thanks, Sean. Great stuff, man. And we'll see
more
you, Sean, on Twitter with him, the film breakdowns with Mikey McNuggets, who rejoins us now.
He called me Mike Lucas. I've been called Mike Lucas first and last name in quite a while. He dropped
That's
that
right.
3 or 4 times. And
Well, he calls you Mike Lucas, and I love when Leroy calls G. Bush.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Bush. Like, that's
Hey,
like
Bush.
that was my little Mighty Mike name. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like 12 and under, I was just Bush. There was no G in front of it.
We're recording that with Shaun at 1:30 today. I'll post some clips tonight, tomorrow. Then we'll unveil the final ones on the WKYC show on Friday. Shaun, it's from a quarterback perspective, when he talks on some of the stuff that he sees from Deshaun, the route combinations, we've talked about that in terms of what are Judy and Cooper doing sometimes. To hear Shaun say that as a guy who played at the highest level, won a Super Bowl, understands the offensive side of the ball in a way that, frankly, I'll never be able to. It holds a little more weight, and he doesn't hold anything back. I have thoroughly enjoyed the 3 weeks we've had with Shaun so far. Man, he brings it every time.
He's awesome.
Because here's the thing, he's not he don't have no allegiance to no Cleveland people. Like, he in here just talking football. Like, he don't care. Like, he from Ohio. He don't want to see Deshaun play well or who play well. He like, yo, I'm just tell you how it is, man. I think it's one of the best parts of football season, because now y'all can listen to these guys. Listen to Leroy, listen to Shaun. Don't take my word for it. You just go ahead. Just, do your thing.
Before we move on to the next topic, I take you behind the scenes on something real quick. So Shaun lives in Vegas, and the last 2 weeks we talked about 2:00 on Tuesday with the plays he wanted broken down. Like, hey, I want this video, I want this clip, I want to start end zone angle, then go sideline. He texted me yesterday, goes, hey, I'm helping a friend move. I'm not gonna be around. I'll get to these plays later tonight. No worries, whatever.
Yeah.
I go to bed early last night, hadn't heard from Shaun. I wake up, he had 23 plays he wanted me to cut this morning. I said, Shaun, man, I love you, but I don't have time to cut 23 plays with graphics and text. And he goes, all right, can we do 15? I'm like, let's go to 8. Let's do 8. So we got 8 plays he's going to break down for us. He said there's so much I'll kind of weave in and out of them. But, yeah, I got an 11:30 Eastern time text from Shaun with 23 plays he wanted to highlight. And I had to tell him just not enough time. You want to do 23? Let me know on Monday, and we could cut that up, but not on Wednesday morning. All right, guys, let's talk a little Browns playoff hopes. There are 6 teams that made the playoffs in 2023 that are off to 1-2 starts this year. Cleveland, San Francisco, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Ravens. Bull, of those 6 teams, if you were to rank them number 1, most likely to still make the playoffs, number 6, least likely to make the playoffs, how would you rank it, and where does Cleveland come on that list?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. The only tough decisions are, in my opinion, between the Niners and Baltimore, who's 1 and who's 2, and between the Browns and Rams, who's 4 and 5. To me, Dallas is locked into the 3 spot, and the Dolphins are locked into the 6 spot, because I don't even know when 2 is going to play. The rest of the teams at least have their starting quarterbacks. So the Dolphins are last, because I have no idea when 2 is going to play. I would say the Niners are 1. They just let that game get away against the Rams, and maybe because Ayuk was out of the line or missed all the training camp. Deebo Samuel's hurt now. McCaffrey's hurt, although Jordan Mason's been great for them. But as great as he's been, he's still not Christian McCaffrey. So I think they've dealt with more injuries. Baltimore's been a little shocking, certainly, but they bounced back last week. So I'll say the Niners won by a hair over Baltimore, although I think both will make the playoffs. Dallas is 3. I think they are certainly lacking talent outside of Dak and CeeDee Lamb on the offense. To me, it's a tough call between the Rams and Browns. They both have tough schedules. I like Stafford more than I like Watson right now, but Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are both out, and that's a major problem. So I'll go Browns 4, Rams 5, and Dolphins 6.
Dustin?
So what am I exactly listing out here? I'm sorry.
Most likely to make the playoffs. Most likely to least likely make the playoffs of those 6 teams.
Give me we're all the 6 teams.
These are.
Why don't you go while Dustin gets?
I'm trying to.
Okay, we'll stall for you, man. We got to freestyle. We're gonna freestyle. Listen, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna switch those 2. I think the Baltimore Ravens are the most likely to make it. I think they found something. Again, they were trying to be cute. They wanted Lamar to get his money off. They was passing up. Last week against the Cowboys, they come out and run it 40 sometimes. Lamar passes at 15, excuse me. I think they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's get our money off. I'm going to go with the 49ers second. I think that with Shanahan, their run game will travel. He's good enough to scheme up a lot of different things so they can get their money off in terms of the run game. And, Christian McCaffrey is being out, but I think Shanahan has shown more than one time that he can get it done with a multitude of people. I'm going to go with them. Now, with the Dolphins, I got the Dolphins last. Just start with them because you ain't got a quarterback. That's not going to work. Who knows when he's coming back. And I thought they were flawed to start with before Tua was out. And then it comes down to, I guess, the Rams and the Browns. Right now, I got to put the Rams ahead of the Browns, mainly because Stafford is he's a known commodity. I know what he's going to do. Even Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are out. I still like their running game more than the Browns. And at this point, the Browns defense is not where it was last year. If the Browns defense was still playing the way it was last year, I'd flip-flop the two teams. But I got the Browns at 5th. Rams at 4th, and then Niners, and then at the top of the food chain is Ravens.
Okay, I have the teams now. Bull, I was like, what are these teams he's ranking right now? Okay, so the 6 teams that I would, that made the playoffs will not. Obviously, you read them off there. I'll say the least likely to make it's going to be Dallas. Yeah, I think they're a mess right now. I mean, obviously I've watched the Browns game. I watched the entire Ravens game this past weekend. Yeah, the Ravens let them sort of back in it, but dude, that the Ravens could have named their score if they'd have kept the foot on the gas the entire game. So I'll say Dallas will be number 1, least likely to make it. I'll put Miami number 2. I could have put them last just because of the Tua uncertainty. You made the good point there, Adam. I don't know what that team's going to be with Skyler.
Well, Tyler Huntley might start this week.
Okay, is he any better? I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So Dallas, Miami. I'll say the Rams, Cleveland, and then San Fran, Baltimore.
So he had it just a little different than
I have Baltimore. I have Baltimore the most likely to make it out of all those teams.
So G and Dustin have Baltimore the most likely, San Francisco 2. I have San Francisco 1 and Baltimore 2. Dustin and I have the Browns as 4th most likely. G has them 5th. And Dustin with the Cowboys last. G and I have the Dolphins last. So what's yours?
Real quick, in what world did I ever foresee you and Dustin being higher on the Browns playoff chances than G. Bush? Like what bizarre world?
That's a
what
shock.
Bizarre world have we entered now where it's 12-22 on September 25th, and G of the 4 of us is the lowest on the Browns.
I get, contrary to popular belief, like my takes be actually like lower than people's, right? Like I don't be all like when they be like, oh, Deshaun Watson is balling. I'm like, he's getting 2,500 if he's lucky. What are you talking about? Like
I'm going to back G up here because he is when things are going well. We have Lloyd and it's over the top, but when they're not playing well, he's harsh with them, deservedly so. So I'm not shocked. I don't know about Dustin. I can't speak for him, but right now, even though I had them 4th, I don't think if you ask me today, are the Browns making the playoffs? I would say no.
No, absolutely not.
They have to win Sunday. Like they can't start 1-3. They can't.
Yeah, especially because Washington looks way better than obviously, than we thought. So, although I did pick Washington as my, if you may remember, Mike, as our not that they've anywhere close to that yet, but I picked them as my surprise playoff team this year.
Bull, you did say somebody emailed me the other day, McNuggets. They said Bull might have been right. He had the Browns not making the playoffs, and we gave him a hard time.
I knew people were gonna be mad, but anyway, Dustin, right now today, you have the Browns making the playoffs.
No.
Yeah.
Mike, it could change.
How could you, Bull?
Yeah.
No, you can't right now. No.
There's been nothing we
I don't know that you can pick them to beat the Raiders this weekend.
No, I mean the Raiders are favored. It's a slight favorite.
And they're at home.
Yeah.
Although I don't even know that's a home field advantage out there.
No, that's true. There'll be a lot of Browns fans there.
There's a lot that's going to change.
People have been looking for this for a while.
Yep.
There's a lot that's going to change in the next 14 weeks, but if you're basing it off the first 3 games of the season, it's hard to find the path, or it's hard to foresee a route for the Browns to turn it around. Shaun and Leroy both said they can't block right now. Like, they can do some tweaks to get this offense back on track to some extent, but if you can't hold up in protection, whether it's the passing game or the running game, it's hard to envision a world where this defense automatically snaps back to 1985 Bears form and just start shutting down this quarterback gauntlet that, by the way, is coming up. They haven't even reached the part of the schedule that, at least when the year started, we thought was going to be a much tougher portion. And like you said, both the Commanders look better than expected. They still have to face Mahomes. They still have to face all 6 AFC North Division opponents.
Right.
Like, the road gets tougher, and the level of play we've seen to the Browns thus far isn't playoff caliber. They can get there, but it hasn't been yet.
And if you look at the other the teams we're talking about here, forget the Dolphins because 2 was hurt. But if you look at the other 4 teams, the Niners, Baltimore, Dallas, and Rams, like, all of those 4 teams, at least they're in their 1 win, they played well, right? Like, the Browns didn't play that well in their win. The Niners played, the Baltimore looked great against Dallas. And Baltimore played well against Kansas City. They just lost, right? The Rams just beat San Francisco. And Dallas played well against the Browns. They weren't amazing, but they were better against the Browns than the Browns were against the Jaguars.
Yeah. The thing I'm scared about is everybody I talk to says that the offensive line, that isn't going to get better.
No.
Like, that's going to be a thing all year. The guys are in and out of the lineup. You're not going to have any cohesiveness. That's it. But the thing that scares me most is the fact that you have that, and say, for instance, the quarterback play does not get any better. Right. So we still, after week 5, week 6, talking about overthrows or missed throws, the gimmies that you have to have that are layups, and the defense takes a step back. The defense isn't what it was last year, and the defense takes a step back. Then there's no way. Now, 2 of those three things are most likely to happen. Like, so you have to have the defense playing otherworldly. Right. If you want to pick, you're going to say the Browns are going to be a playoff team, because the other 2 things, I haven't seen any credible, signs of those things changing.
Yeah. I think the hope is that Nick Chubb comes back and makes the offensive line, at least in the run, look better. But I mean, that's considering he hasn't played in over a year and he's coming off serious injury, that's a lot to expect from Nick Chubb.
He technically can be activated off the IR after this week. And speaking of the IR, Wyatt Teller was officially placed on the IR today. We expected it yesterday, but Stefanski made that official a few minutes ago. He also said Myles Garrett, questionable for Sunday's game against the Raiders. He's not going to practice. I don't think any of expected us to practice or expected him to practice. It'll be a game time decision. I'd be surprised if he didn't play, but will not practice the next couple of days.
Zach Center, what's up, bro? How you living? Shout out to Zach Center.
I actually thought he looked pretty decent, to be honest with you.
I did too. I thought so.
Of all the linemen, he was the only one, when you go back and watch, that was like, he held his own against Dexter Lawrence a little bit too. And Lawrence is the man-child. So, all right, Bull, you ready for our final topic of the day?
I am.
Let's get down to it. We have talked about this Browns roster ad nauseum throughout the offseason. The 33rd team, when they were ranking their AFC rosters, put the Browns in 3rd. We all, and Dustin, you weren't here, so I exclude you from this. If you do not agree, then you are not lumped into this conversation. But we all said, excluding the quarterback, just because we didn't know about Deshaun Watson, said the Browns had a championship-level roster entering the season. Through 3 games, we may have second opinions on that. Some of the guys we anticipated playing extremely well have not lived up to their billing yet. And it got me thinking, and G, I'll start with you when we go around the horn, Bull second, Dustin third. Has the Browns' lack of talent finally caught up to them? And is that a result of not having a first-round pick for the last 3 years? So on the one hand, it's your quarterback isn't playing at the elite level you thought, but also the consequences of acquiring Deshaun, where you gave those 3 first-round picks, and the Browns just kind of lack some of that talent that the other top teams in the AFC currently have. Is that a fair assessment, or am I overthinking this?
No, that's not a fair assessment, because the people that they drafted, there's guys that were on the board. Anthony Schwartz went over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tristan Wirfs, you took Jed Wills. You whiffed on that. The people that you've picked, And there's guys that would have been competent picks in the third or fourth round, or guys that were available weren't available. They're not playing well. You take a look at Amari Cooper. Now, he worked out in terms of trades, right? Elijah Moore was supposed to be giving us something at receiver. That trade, people will say, probably didn't work out in our favor. We got Jerry Jeudy. He's played pretty well for the first 3 games, but he's not a deep threat. Obviously, you got a lot of our best players are players that were here drafted by a different regime. And so I can't say if they would have got three first round draft picks back, that somehow they would have capitalized on those picks, because I haven't seen them capitalize on the picks that they got now. Like, they haven't drafted studs that'll be like, oh my gosh, this guy's like, JOK is pretty good. I think he's a stud. But other than that, Greg Newsome was a first round pick. He got his spot taken by a third round pick from Mississippi State. That ain't supposed to happen. You got moved to the slot, dog. People try to act like you didn't get moved to the slot. You don't willfully go to the slot, Dustin. You can speak to that. Like,
right.
That ain't no thing. Like, that's a first round pick. That's a miss. You can't have that happen. So
I mean, the slot is definitely I think it's the hardest position to play in the secondary, even though the public and fans look at it like, oh man, you can't play outside. You're like this lesser corner. It is kind of bizarre to me, because I think it's harder to play than on the outside. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, they slid him inside, and I feel like they try to just hide you a little bit because you're not on the field every snap.
To be fair, listen, Andrew Berry's been a mixed bag. I'd say he's been a C as a drafter. To be fair to him, they've only had 3 picks in 4 years that are in the top 66 in the draft. One of them is Michael Hall, who so far, hasn't done anything. The other 2 were as you mentioned, JOK, who's been very good for a 52nd overall pick, and Greg Newsome, who's been okay as a 26th pick. So they haven't had the high draft picks. Now, maybe they would have blown them too. I don't know, but there's less margin for error. You mentioned some guys they passed on, and you're right, but there's less successful 3rd round and 4th round players than there are 1st and 2nd round players. So he's been hamstrung by that. Listen, we all thought they had a ton of talent coming into the season. I'm not going to say now, well, they don't have any talent. There's plenty of talent on this team. A lot of it's underachieving. Some of it may have crossed over the age Rubicon. And I think especially
the age word. I like Great that. Word.
There you go.
The age Rubicon. Boy, I need a shirt.
You're an ageist, man.
There you go. Yes. I mean, oh my God. Speaking of which, real quick, we got this. So for this fall ball league that I do, we have there's a bunch of umpires. We use this umpiring service. And there's this one dude who's most of the umpires are anywhere between like 25 and 45. And they're all pretty good umpires for, youth baseball. But this one guy that we've had a couple of times in the last few weeks, this guy, he's probably like 65, but he looks like he's 106. and I'm scared he's not going to make it through the game. And he gets hit. Like, sometimes there'll be like foul balls and it hits him in the chest because he can't move. And he has this like thing that's like, ever see one of those like cat toys on a stick that people will play with a cat, That's what he uses to clean home plate because he can't bend down. Now, to be fair, I can't really bend down to clean the plate either, but I'm not an umpire. That's not my job. So anyway, so yes, I am a little ageist, I guess, if we're fair about it. But Joe Bitonio is about to turn 33 in a week or two. He does not look like the same player. If you look at the eye test, the offensive line doesn't look good. You look at the PFF grades. Bitonio's actually got a decent pass blocking grade, and that's it. None of them have good run blocking grades, and the rest of them don't have good pass blocking grades. I think some of the injuries have caught up with Wyatt Teller. Posick has not played well, and the tackles have been awful. DeJuan's out of shape. Jedrick Wills is probably out of shape too, or at least out of football shape, because he hasn't played football in forever until last week. So I think maybe
he's just not good.
No, the offensive line, the talent is not what we thought. We've been kind of, how we always talk about, with the Steelers and Ravens, they kind of live on their reputation defensively, and the Steelers are backing it up this year, certainly. But there are years where those teams aren't as good defensively, and we just assume they're going to be because of their reputation. I think that's what's happened with their offensive line. I understand Bill Callahan's gone, and that's a factor, certainly. But I don't think the whole thing's Bill Callahan. The veteran players shouldn't fall apart. I can understand a young player like DeJuan Jones maybe falling apart because his coach is not there. But Bitonio and Teller and Posick and even Jed Wills, this is at least their fifth year in the league for all those guys. They shouldn't completely fall apart because their offensive line coach is not there. So none of those guys get a pass to me. And I think their offensive line, we overrated the talent, and some of it's in decline. I think the rest of and maybe we overrated the wide receiver talent a little, but I think, G and you and I, who have, obviously Dustin's fairly new to the show, but you and I have been talking all off season that we didn't love the wide receiver talent. It's not terrible, but we didn't love it. So I don't know that we overrated the talent. David Njoku's hurt. That's a big deal. Teller's hurt. That's a big deal. We don't know when Chubb's going to be back. He's their best running back, obviously. I mean, defensively, it's been disappointing. I don't know. I don't think it's because of Myles Garrett or JOK or Denzel Ward, who are their best players. So I still think they're a talented team. I think some guys are underachieving. And I think the offensive line in particular is not as talented as we thought. But I think most of the rest of the areas are. They're just either not playing well or being brought down by other areas that aren't as good.
On a brighter note, I feel like if like they just go back, I went back to make myself kind of feel better. Like, remember when they had Case Keenum playing? Baker was out those few games, and they basically were like, look, we're just going to run a high school playbook. We're going to run boot and draw and run some off tackle plays and throw a few screens and play some defense. Like, I think this team is a more talented version of that team, minus the running back. But Jerome Ford is missing practice today, so with a knee injury. But that's not a good look. But maybe Deontay Foreman, Pierre Strong get a little look. But here's the thing: if they can play that way, I think they need to dumb it all the way down. Just reduce it all the way back down, and we're only going to give Deshaun Watson very easy, very clear, very quick looks. And then we're going to see if we can pull something out, and hopefully Gardner Minshew gives us a couple of turnovers, and we can play to that style. Other than that, they have to swallow their ego and pride a little bit and try to figure out what it is. At this point, it's time out for buyer's remorse. Like, at this point, you got the roster, there is no help coming. You can evaluate what the quarterback is or the offensive line is next year. We can't keep coming on the sticks talking about this is what we paid for. Guys, we got it. We got a car, we got an engine problem, and the transmission looks bad. How do we get to work? That's what we got to talk about. And hopefully, if they can get a win and play that way, you're 2-2. And there's a lot of teams that would be happy to be 2-2 right now.
By the way, quick correction. Joel Bitonio has a good run blocking grade, not pass blocking grade. In fact, his pass blocking grade's like a 40, which is
it's like 40.
I reversed that. Nobody, if you look at their 5 offensive linemen, their starters, none of them have a run or pass blocking grade in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, except for Bitonio against the run. That's it. So they've been terrible.
Dustin, the floor is yours.
About just overrating the talent. I mean, I don't think we overrated the talent. I think we know what the Browns have. I think that the injuries have come into play to the point where now we don't have our horses, Nick Chubb most importantly. But no, I don't think we overrated the talent. I think that we undervalued, I guess, that the quarterback position is not quite there yet. And then you put all these other issues together, combined with that, it just exacerbates the whole thing, right? If our quarterback were playing at an elite level, I really don't think you'd see all these warts. I don't. I mean, for years, Rodgers in Green Bay, I know they only won one title, but like, he didn't have a great offensive line all the time. I mean, there's been times where Mahomes has had some issues with their injuries on the offensive line. Like, I just hate the excuses. They're a part of it. We follow this team every single day, so we're so in tune with our team, and it just feels like we've got more injuries probably than everybody else, but that's just not the case. I mean, you look across the league at any team, Everyone's banged up, and it's going to get worse by the time we get to October here next week, and then of course into November, December when it matters.
And there are other teams, as you say, Dustin, that have bad offensive lines. Now, right now,
Yes,
the Browns are, and the Browns are definitely in the bottom quarter of the league. But we've seen it. We've seen it with, in fact, to be fair to him, and although he didn't play that well this week, he played well the first 2 weeks. The Buccaneers' offensive line is not very good. The Bengals' offensive line is better than it's been, but it's overall been terrible in Burrow's time there. So. Yes, you need nobody, contrary to popular belief, nobody is 100% blaming Deshaun Watson because the whole offense stinks.
No, and he doesn't deserve all that blame.
No, right. And the offensive line stinks, and the wide receivers have been lousy, and the running backs have not been good enough, and across the board. Everybody's bad, but no, I'm not giving – Deshaun Watson doesn't get a pass either because he's had opportunities, and he hasn't taken advantage of enough of them when they've been presented to him.
Do you know whose offensive line is also very bad this season?
The Titans with Bill
Titans'
Callahan.
offensive line is incredibly bad this season based off every metric. I haven't watched every Titans game, but anytime you look up pass blocking stats, pass block win rate, run block success rate, the Browns are near the bottom and the Titans are just below them. So not saying a coach matters or not saying a coach doesn't matter, but I think sometimes you may overrate that aspect of how the overall line's playing.
And I'm with Bull on this, man. Like, can we say something? Like, you guys are veterans. Like, some of the stuff you watching on tape is not like, it ain't a technique issue. Guys are just getting their tails kicked or not knowing what they're doing. Like, it shouldn't take another grown man to tell you what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
You know what you know good and well you got beat on that pass set, or you forgot the snap count. Bill Callahan can't do nothing with that. Come on, guys. Come on. I can understand it was Zach Zenner. It's not.
Right, sure. Yeah, and nobody's saying it's not a factor. Of course, it's in the mix that Callahan left. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter who the coach is.
Right.
But I think some people are making it seem like the 100% of the offensive line problem is the coach leaving, and that's just stupid.
Gotta have some pride. You gotta take some pride, man. Hopefully they can. This is gonna be an interesting game because, usually under Stefanski, when we're ready to say pull the plug on it, his teams usually show up, right? I mean, I think we were right where we were at against Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago, right? I thought, man, we're gonna find out about this team, and we're gonna find out about them now because now the injuries are here, and guys are gonna have to play, and it's on the road, and we'll see how it happens. And one of these games, and I'll be the first one to say it. One of these games. And this is not avoidable. There's going to be games this year where Deshaun Watson has to be that dude. And it don't matter. Like, he's going to have to either make throws or he's going to have to make plays with his feet where it's like, wow, if he wasn't playing, they weren't going to win. And if he don't have that, there's going to be games that they're going to lose this year. Like, that's just what it is.
Dustin, let me ask you this real quick, Dustin, then we could wrap up. Jay, I want you to chime in on it too, but coming off the film that they're going to watch from the Giants game, I have to imagine, especially from an offensive line standpoint, but it's not going to be a fun film session, right? Like, the coach is going to get on them, a lot of missed assignments. The Raiders are also kind of going through a similar thing. Antonio Pierce talked about business decisions players made against Carolina. He's going to make business decisions as a coach. Do you think this Browns team is built to respond to that kind of, I'll call it embarrassment against the Giants, knowing that was on tape, and if we're going to change the narrative, we got to go out and prove it? Are they built to respond like that?
I don't know. I don't know what their DNA is right now. I don't know what their identity is, and maybe that's the problem. Right now, I don't know if anybody in that room. I mean, I know Miles is a pretty good leader, but he's he's one of those sort of shyer guys. Where is the backbone of this defense? Where is it? I don't know. I mean, I think we've got talented guys, but do we have, the guys in the middle of that defense that are going to be vocal, that are going to say, nah, man, this is BS. We watched that tape. We want to basically burn that and come back here the next week. I mean, they're professionals. I assume and I hope that they have those guys in that room, but we're going to find out. And we're going to find out real quick because the Browns are going to face, a tough test, not just this week, because this is a game that I think everybody on paper looked at before the season and they said, okay, Vegas is a win, and they move on, and that's just not going to be the case. It's going to be a dogfight this weekend, and they better bring it. They better bring their lunch pails, and then they better tackle. Our tackling's got to improve, especially in the back end. I think that is an area where we're lacking right now, and that's not like a talent thing, guys. That's more of like a want-to and effort thing. So they really got to pick it up this weekend, and I don't care what the offense does. It's got to be about, like, the defense. Just go do your thing, and just don't even worry about the score. Don't worry about what the offense is doing if they're not converting the third downs. Like, you can't have a pity party because it's not all going your way in every facet of the game. So,
man, I want to see some fight, man. I want to see somebody act like they care, bro. I want to see somebody on the field getting the defensive line together. Like, come on, man, we got to get home. Guys, we missing tackles. Where is that the come to Jesus moment on the sideline where somebody gets in the huddle and says, hey, coaches, get the hell out of here. Move out the way. Hey, listen, we getting broke down right now. And I'm looking at each man. If we see you on film, I'm gonna deal with you, bro. Not the coaches. We gotta have each other's back. We're not making no plays. Right now, it seemed like nobody is content. Everybody content with being in a gap. I don't want being in your gap, guys. I want guys picking the ball off, taking the ball away, scoring touchdowns, making grabs. I don't like to see Malik Neighbors going up over Martin Emerson dunking on you, you looking around, tucking your tail. Come on, bro. We got to have it. But I don't know who's the guy that's standing up saying them. You need one or two crazy you-know-what's in that defense. And they're very smart and intelligent guys. You listen to JOK, you listen to Delpit, Myles Garrett's very intelligent. Who's the crazy dude? Hey, Zadarius Smith, you're welcome to get in on the party. You used to crawl all over the ground against the Packers when you was with the Vikings and them. You get to the AFC, now you don't do none of that? I need some of that. I need some energy. I need somebody being that emotional leader, and I'm trying to find out who it's going to be this week.
You guys make good points. You look at the guys who we think of as leaders, Denzel, maybe JOK, certainly Miles, Nick Chubb. I know he's not playing right now. Joel Bitonio. None of those guys are rah-rah guys. None of those guys are like, we got to bleep and kill it, blah, 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 blah. You need some nastiness. And it doesn't feel like they have that. But you're right, G. It's got to be about the players. The players got to say enough. Like, we've been embarrassed here for 3 weeks. We got to do something about it. And unless they do that, I mean, we'll see, right? Like, the Raiders got called out by their coach. Are they going to be like, both of these teams are desperate, you think, at 1 and 2. And we'll find out who's more desperate and who wants it more in this game. By the way, Jermaine Ifedi, he's been signed to the active roster. And the Browns have signed 2 tackles to the practice squad, which makes you think that, like, is Jed going to play this week? Is Dewan going to play this week? And Njoku's definitely out again this week. He hasn't practiced at all.
And the big thing, boy, you missed. Yeah. And we'll talk about this more in depth tomorrow. I'm hoping we get a little update. But Miles not practicing. They've listed him with 3 injuries: foot, Achilles, and thigh. And anytime you see Achilles on the injury report, it's
not good.
Not a great sign.
I always expect him to play through it, but
who said this? Did one of y'all say this? You said you would sit him?
Jason did.
You said
Jason said that on Monday, Tuesday. No, Monday.
Monday.
I would listen. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think about putting him on the IR. Because if you maybe you could weather the storm these few games, these four games, but give him an opportunity to heal back up completely. He's a freak of nature. He spent a lot of money on his body. Hopefully they can get him up and running by the time you get some of those division games. Lucky thing, the 2 losses that you got is against NFC teams, but the Cleveland Browns hinge on Myles Garrett defensively. And if they don't have him at the end of the season, it don't even matter. You might chalk that up anyway. I would put him on IR. I don't want him hobbling around, and at least you could you could kind of save this season a little bit if he comes back healthy.
Bull, merited on that. We will discuss that in more depth tomorrow when we get a little more information, the severity of each one. Let's get to some super chats here to wrap up the show. Chief Briank says, Clevelander, Brownie living in Kentucky for 25 years. We don't want Cincinnati either. I think that was in reference to the fake Photoshop shirts we got duped with earlier in the show.
We've confirmed that they are fake.
They are fake. Hand up. My bad. Bad job out of all of us. We're on a stream together, so we are all taking blame. Michael Ribovich said, I thought they were celebrating the Ohio Cup, which is the Cincinnati Reds Cleveland matchup.
Right.
Halim Youssef says Tennessee's O-line is terrible this year. We mentioned that a little earlier. They drafted a first round. Who's the guy that took in the first round? Latham? JC Latham?
Who knows?
No idea. No idea.
John B says Watson facts. He has only played 3 full seasons in a 7-year career. In those 3 seasons, he was sacked 155 times, 49 in 2020. This is who he is. He doesn't process the game at an elite level.
Right now, he's not. Right now, he's not processing it at an elite level. So that's obvious.
And the thoughts before I move on? Nope. Cool. Chief Briank says, I'm driving 7 hours each way from Kentucky for my first Cleveland Guardians game in 50 years, Sunday. Last one was 74 at the Muni lot. Have great seats in row 5 at home.
What took you so long to come back?
Yeah,
bro.
Is he talking? Is he? Oh, yeah, the Browns are at home this Sunday. So, yeah.
In Vegas, unless he's driving to Vegas, but I think it's further than 7 hours from Kentucky to Vegas.
Yeah, that's like 5,000 hours.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. Is definitely well. Welcome back to Cleveland. Been a while. Yeah. And our last super chat comes from Rated R. Hey guys, when do we have to have a conversation about the scouts and wide receiver coach on helping AB evaluate talent at the wide receiver spot? Because he missed on Puka and St. Brown, not just AB. Love the show.
Now, AB deserves criticism. Every other team missed on Puka and St. Brown also.
Yes.
And those are free. I mean, the fact that St. Brown went, the 4th round?
St. Brown was 4th, Puka was 5th.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And St. Brown's done it for a number of years now. Puka's only done it for 1 year, but he was great. I mean, look at every draft pick, every wide receiver the Browns have drafted is a bust. Now, they haven't drafted any particularly above the 3rd round, but they're all busts. The trade for Elijah Moore was terrible. It forced them to drop from the 2nd round to the 3rd round in the draft for a guy who's been borderline useless. And I think, we'll see if they regret making the Jerry Jeudy trade. We'll see.
Yeah, Dell was drafted in those. I believe Dell was drafted in a spot between where the Browns were and where they traded back to.
We don't know that they would have taken him, but
I'm just saying, like there was that's the kind of receiver you're potentially drafting.
Can we say this? I don't want to let man. Hey, if you're a receiver and you running in a 4.5 and you under 6 foot, there's no way I want to draft you, and I don't want to hear not one fan ever again in their life tell me, we already have so-and-so on the roster. This is 2 years in a row. You told me DPJ, we got DPJ, and this year you told me we love our receiving room. Come on, man. Come on. I don't want to hear no more. Stop.
All right, we are back in studio tomorrow.
Yes.
Both shows have been fun, but not as fun as when we're all sitting together underneath the WKYC studios. We're back in full force. The computer is being hooked up as we speak. Director Steve's supposed to call me in about an hour with confirmation that everything is locked, loaded, and ready to rock. Bull, any final thoughts before we wrap up here today? We don't have to go till 1. We could be done in a sec if you have no final thoughts. But any final thoughts to close today's show?
I have no final thoughts for you right now. None.
G. Bush.
I'm passing on final thoughts.
Dustin.
None.
I'd like to say none of you congratulated me on my club championship last night. I'm deeply hurt.
You got to bring the trophy like Jay does. Where's your trophy? Oh, okay.
That's a mini trophy.
Yeah, I know it's mini.
I don't
remember. He had to get the focus on that boy.
Club champion. There we go.
I'm surprised they let you play, Dustin.
Why?
You're
What
you're a former professional player. When you playing at the country club,
bro.
you out here smoking these old dudes. These dudes is CFOs. These dudes ain't ever ran down nothing. How they like you
Don't
play?
don't judge a book by its cover, man. Dude, these dudes can hit the ball, man. Old dudes can hit the ball. I can outrun a lot of my errors. How about that? Just because I am still a little bit athletic, but I ain't that good, man. I'm a very, very, very average a recreational tennis player. I just love the game.
Underrated skill set is a one-handed backhand.
Dude, no one uses the one-hand backhand anymore. Come on, what are we doing?
And that one-handed backhand is elite. You know how strong you gotta be? Powerful?
Yeah, dude. My forearms aren't that strong, man.
Yeah.
And that was Talking Tennis, brought to you by the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We'll see y'all tomorrow in studio. Peace.
Peace.